Good afternoon, Mayor, Councillors. Post the introductions and considering the item has sufficient information for decisions to be made, we're happy to provide any further response or answer any questions the Council may have.
Councillor Craig.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's really, my questions are around process on this, because I see that this bylaw has to go out for consultation, which is 1 month. It's obviously not going to come back before this council for any consideration until well after January. That's reality, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I can probably answer that depending on whether there are submissions to this bylaw alteration, it may not need to go to the Statutory Management Committee if there are no submissions, of course, but it is an item of some importance, and it's I think more than feasible that there will be a special council meeting of some sort mid-December. Last year, I think, in fact, the last 2 years, I recall there's been a special council meeting around mid-December, pretty much a mop-up at the end of the year, and it would be entirely appropriate for this to be part of that.
That's good to know, because I did wonder how we were going to manage it. I don't understand why the LAP, which is the... what does the LAP stand for? Local Alcohol Policy. Is that coming to the next meeting, and then that's got to go up for consultation, because we haven't had that, and there's some reference here. So both those documents would be going out for consultation at separate times.
They are different documents, but Alex can probably answer the time frame for the LAP.
Yeah, so the next council meeting, we're hoping that the plan is to have the draft LAP to come up to council for adoption for public consultation. They'll be somewhat not in sync in terms of consultation, but I don't think that's sort of a major detriment for either of those two governance documents to go out and be consulted upon.
Yeah, they do different things, both of them, even though obviously they're related.
Yeah, so I mean, the bylaws pretty much just give the police powers to enforce offences with drinking in public and consuming in public, where the LAP is basically the district and the community's response of what sort of further controls we'd like to put on the licensing of liquor outlets, where they're situated and so forth.
Thank you. And can I ask, did the last bylaw expire automatically? And when did that happen?
That expired the 20th of June.
20th of June.
Yes.
So can I ask, did that expire because we just didn't get around to renewing it, or why did we let that lapse and not renew?
So part of the explanation is it was a time factor, and that there wasn't availability of a council meeting. Part of it is also that because of staff transition within the policy department, it wasn't a high profile to push this bylaw to be reviewed, and so we were misinformed of the timings of the bylaw.
Okay, so basically we've got a staffing issue maybe, or, time factor really. Is it?
I'd say it would be part of the reason. It was a time factor, and our current capacity is quite low at the moment, but there was some staff transition earlier, and there was the feedback provided to the current policy team wasn't provided.
Okay, thank you very much.
Alex, and in fact all the presenters, I just ask you to, if you're speaking, if you can move your microphone just closer to you, because you're potentially fading in or out. But,
good. That's all my questions. I just processed. Thank you very much,
yeah.
Alex.
Councillor Cleveland.
Thank you, Mayor Hamish. On the issue that Councillor Craig has just raised about the expiry of such policies, just not acceptable. That needs to be an issue to be addressed, and I'll be investigating how that actually happens. A few other questions there. So could this be as simple as readopting the previous bylaw that was in place and then putting it out for immediate review? Can I have a comment on that, please?
So effectively, that's what we've done. We've taken the status quo from the previous bylaw and revamped that for the current alcohol bylaw. Just because there's been a change in the legislation, it's no longer a liquor control bylaw, so we need to change all our signage for it to be enforced. So it falls under an alcohol control bylaw, so we haven't really made, in terms of any changes, we haven't made that dramatic changes that haven't historically the council's adopted. So, but we would need to, in terms of engagement with the public, because it's a bylaw, whether it's reviewed or a new one is adopted, as this is the case, we under the Special Consultative Procedure, under the Local Government Act, we have to provide 1 month for public consultation.
Yep, okay. Yes, sorry, this is one of these rules that we've got to get our heads around, that's fine. To the gents on your left then, you basically have trouble doing your job without a bylaw in place, is that right?
It's a beneficial tool in controlling the level of, because it's an extra tool that helps us manage the disorder and the violence in the CBD. So the CBD for us historically has been contentious with the consumption of alcohol on weekends and public holidays and things like that. And yeah, this has had a positive impact since the bylaw was in place.
Good. I notice in the proposal there's nothing about liquor trading issues. Is that something that's covered in this LAP document, is it? I'm particularly thinking about times of trade, sale of liquor after midnight on Saturday night, for instance.
Yes,
something
correct.
like
It's
that.
covered in the draft local alcohol policy.
Right.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just hurriedly reading notes here that I scrolled down about this, but no, that's me, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Craig.
Yeah, thank you. The banning of alcohol in the streets in the affected areas, particularly the CBD, after 9 o'clock, how does that affect our cafes and bars who might have their tables on the street?
Yeah, so in the CBD it's not after 9 o'clock, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week ban, and it doesn't. If there's a liquor licence in place and the council or that property has a licence to occupy in that space, then those are the exemptions.
Oh, okay.
There are signs on the street, aren't they, that indicate the extent of the...
Okay. So if then, let's say we were holding a special event,
Special
let's
licence
say the
covers it.
Heritage Weekend, that's a special licence, so
Special
that's allowed within it. Thank you very much.
Although it would still need to be controlled within that special condition of the special licence. So it'll be a council or a licensing decision to be made. So there will be some. Yeah, it's not as simple.
But it's not like a full rule that after
Yeah.
9 o'clock you can't have any alcohol no matter what. It can be applied for, and thank you.
Senior Sergeant, I'll just get you to... it's a directional mic, so just aim it straight for your mouth. There you go. Get a little closer. Yeah, beautiful. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. Just 2 queries. One, does every local authority in New Zealand have a similar bylaw to this?
With the liquor licensing, a lot of cities and CBDs, yes, they do.
3 questions now. A lot is of percentage of local authorities in New Zealand.
Oh, I haven't got those numbers. Sorry, I wouldn't know.
So it's safe to say there are some some areas get on without this policy in place.
Yes. You're talking about the IAP, or you're talking about the liquor ban?
Yeah, the bylaw that's been proposed, they can get all, they operate without that.
Yes.
The other thing, just my reading of the notes sort of suggested that there was an incident 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and that was the driver for it. It seems to me, and I don't know the details of what that incident was, but would it not be fair to say that even if this law had been bylaw would be in place, that incident would still have taken place?
Yes, that incident is probably not correctly represented on the document, in that it was highlighted by that case rather than the driver of the whole policy. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I read that as sort of that being the driver for the whole process.
It was highlighted. That really highlighted the need with some of the issues in and around that bar, around the outside of that bar. Well, I mean, we're dealing with the liquor licensing within the inside, but with little authority outside the bar and dealing with the alcohol consumption out and around the grounds and on the street of it, our hands are tied to the Liquor Act and consumption for under 18s only.
Councillor Young, I can tell you that both Lauren Tamahana and Marion Kavanagh, both council staff, talked to me about the importance of this bylaw in the week preceding the incident. So it was certainly in people's minds, and I concur with the Senior Sergeant that it was just pitiably ironic that it occurred at that time. So, Councillor Baker Hogan.
Thanks, Mayor Hamish. I mean, I guess it's kind of been it's along the similar lines of a few other councillors, but I guess in many ways I think it kind of, although I've just heard what you said, it kind of beggars belief that an incident happened, and it seems that we're kind of getting a bylaw in place, and the question is, would this have happened without without the incident? Would we have been alerted to the need of a bylaw? So you've kind of clarified that a little bit, but I guess it's just phrasing it as a question, perhaps, is, it's around, there's various views in the community, but I think, my understanding is obviously in regard to this bylaw and without a local alcohol policy, we refer to the national regulations, and it's the importance of this community, this community which has shown in the past of having its own local alcohol policy. So I hear it's coming into the December meeting to go out for adoption, and I guess my question was going to be around the incident and